Hello, everyone. I hope you're all well. It's Nick from Claret and Booze. Yeah, didn't happen. The Duran deal did not happen. I don't even believe that towards the end of the window we even attempted to get the deal done, which is very surprising. Now, look, we know that there was basically a deal agreed in principle with quite a few players, and I think a lot of it was dependent on players going out. Because that's all it does take. All it does take is nowadays is an email, something like that, submitted at the right time, and then you've got if they'd have put a bid in at 9:30, something like that, and Villa accept it, then you've got until 1 a.m. to get all the paperwork signed. So I was still full of hope towards the end, towards as that window sort of drew to a close last night, that it was going to happen, but it wasn't meant to be. There wasn't even a bid submitted from what I'm being told. We was offered plenty of players. But we was more concerned on getting players out, which I can understand. I can understand the main focus of yesterday being clearing out of Deadwood, which didn't really materialise, did it? I know James Ward-Prowse has gone. Has Maxwell Cornet gone? I don't know that he did. I know that Southampton submitted the paperwork at the right time, just before 10 o'clock. But I know that we've still got Ings. Aguirre could still go to Saudi, I believe, because I don't think he completed that Real Sociedad move. Sorry, I'm just sort of looking at. I haven't spoken to anyone. I stayed up last night. I've had a quick look on Twitter, and I can't see who's gone where. The Zuma deal was basically done. We know that much. So there's a fair bit trimmed off the wage bill. So why we didn't feel we could push on and go for, if not Duran, just somebody in that mould to give us another option up front. I don't know. Well, I say somebody in that mould. Duran's a fantastic player. There's not a cheap alternative to him. But I'm gutted. So first of all, apologies to everyone whose hopes I got up yesterday. You're not on your own. My hopes were through the fucking roof as well. I got my own hopes up. I've hurt my foot because we went over the dog run yesterday to walk the dogs and started playing football. And like back in the old days, me 15-year-old son, we was having a kick about. Calling out players' names, when you pretend to be players. I was full crook. I wasn't wasn't the most mobile, but I've done me footing. I suppose looking at the transfer window as a whole, before we look ahead to the game, looking at the transfer window as a whole, it's been a success. It's been a success, not a roaring success because it isn't complete. That would have completed our transfer window. I do think it should have been a priority. The striker position should have been an absolute priority, like defence was. And we've definitely resolved and fixed our defence. We have improved defensively. There's no two ways about it. Wan-Bissaka, what a signing. To bring him in to replace Soufal, that infinitely improves us. Max Kilman is fantastic. Obviously, Todibo, the jury's going to be out on him until we see more of him. But we know what a great player he is. He will settle in. And we've got Dinos looking better than ever as well, with Max Kilman alongside him. So that's like having a new centre-back, because a lot of people were saying, I'll be happy if Dinos went. Whereas now he looks good. He looks more than competent. So we've got a good selection of centre-backs there now. We've also still got Casey on the books. He could get promoted to the first team, if we need him. And at left-back, we've got the options of Emerson, not Cresswell at the moment, but we've still got Ollie Scholes. Ollie Scholes hasn't been sent out. So I think we've got amazing coverage at the back. And when you look at the midfield that we brought in, Guido Rodriguez, very, very good player. That's a fantastic move when you consider it was only it was a free transfer. Very good player. He's a defensive midfielder. He's a ball winner. But he is also quite a cultured player. The way he can spray the ball about, he plays forward. Actually, he's not so much a sideways and backwards passer. He will play the ball forward. He can spray the ball about. We've managed to keep Alvarez, which is a massive plus. We know that Man United were after him. That would have, even if we'd have gone and got Duran, if we'd have lost Alvarez as a result of that, I wouldn't have been happy. Not if we'd have lost Alvarez. I think he's so critical to anything we do this season. So we've got those two players, and also then now we've got the other options. You've got the other options in the 10 as well. You've got your Paquetas, you've got your Solairs. Thomas Souček's still there somehow. If you go forwards, we've got Kudus, we've got Somerville, we've got Bowen. We've got Fulkrug and we've got Antonio. So we've got some good, decent options up the field. It's been a good window. I'm not really going to... I can't bring myself to rate any of the players yet because it's not really fair to form an opinion on the success of these signings until they've all had a chance to flourish. Even the likes of Fulkrug, I've said it, he is not the profile of striker that we needed. I'm certain of it. But he hasn't really been given a chance yet because in the few times that he's been introduced in the Premier League, it's coincided with Lopetegui stripping out all of the creativity from the team. You know, for instance, like either Paqueta and Bowen or Paqueta and Kudus or someone comes off, then you bring Fulkrug on. He's not getting any supply. So I don't know, and he's looked isolated. The same in the first half or the first 60 minutes against Bournemouth in the Cup. We did nothing, did we? There was no real sort of creativity there or craft in that team. So what was Fulkrug going to do? He's a target man. He said it himself in his interview. He needs to be fed. He needs to have the ball fed to him. Was never going to happen in that setup. So I'm still keen to see Fulkrug once we've got a fully functional team that can transition the ball and carry it up the field on the ground through the middle, and that will only ever happen once Thomas Souček is out of that team and we've got someone like Soler in the 10. It's physically impossible otherwise, unfortunately. It really is. He blocks that. Anything from open play going forwards, you can't do that when you've got Thomas Souček sat in that gap, in that void between midfield and attack. You need somebody with craft and creativity in that area. Otherwise, you're not going to craft or create anything. It's kind of what the idea is of the 10 position. Normally, you don't normally put a defensive player in that position because otherwise the ball goes up to him and it comes straight back at you. There's going to be a block there, isn't there? And I do think there is going to be a change. One thing I did hear, which was both concerning and encouraging, was we know somebody that sits quite close to the dugouts, and apparently when we were doing the sideways backwards passing, which was driving us all mental against Bournemouth, Lopetegui was audibly losing his fucking mind. He was going mental, as if to say, why are you going back? What's going on? Now, that's good because it kind of gives you the feeling that he doesn't want us to play that way, but it's bad because he hasn't identified why that's happening. And there's one reason why that's happening. Everyone else has identified why that's happening because, they get to a certain stage in midfield, tick-a-tack-a-tick-a-tack, and they look forward, there's nothing there, so they go backwards. Souček is the blocker. They need to get somebody else in that position so that we can transition through. So if he really wants us to sort of progress the ball on the floor up the pitch, there's one change you've got to make, mate. All this talk of gelling, all this talk of gel, hair gel, one change. One switch is all we need to make to that team to make us 10 times better than what we are at the moment. And that is Souček out. I would put Kudus in the centre position, in the 10. I'd put him in the 10. Bring Somerville in on the left, leave Bowen on the right, play Fulkrug down the middle. Give us some good attacking threat, and then you've got the solid foundation of Alvarez and Rodriguez to build on. Now, we're playing Man City later on today. I'm going to be going. If they turn up, you're fucked anyway. If they turn up and they have a good game, they're beating you. There ain't really too much you can do about it when you're West Ham playing Man City. But football is a funny old game. They could have an off day. They could be unlucky. They could miss a few golden chances. What Man City do is they do leave space for you to get at them, because they place entire faith in their own ability to get the ball forward and score goals and beat the opposition the right way. But what that means is that there are opportunities for you. So if we're brave and we gamble and it's a right day, then we can exploit them. We can exploit them at the back. We've got to be clinical. But we could possibly grab something. I don't think we have had anything out of Man City. I'm sure, was it John sent me the stats? In the last 17 games against them, there's been 13 losses and 4 draws against Man City. So it's incredibly unlikely we're going to get anything from this game. Incredibly unlikely. They're a great, great team. But it doesn't mean that we can't put a performance in. It doesn't mean that we can't take a positive out of it going into the international break. I just want to see him. If he starts with, if I called it the other day, I did the beginnings of a vlog when I was walking to the Bournemouth game. Never completed it because I felt like a bit of a dick walking along the street, filming myself. So I literally by the time I'd finished with that video, I put my phone in my pocket and never got it out again. But I said exactly that once I saw that team sheet. I said the middle of the park was not good enough. You know, to play Alvarez, Souček and James Ward-Prowse after everything that we saw last season was madness. It was madness. It was never going to work. So to have Souček in that area again, and I know people are going to say, don't talk about Souček. I can't. He's impacting what we're doing on the fucking football pitch. You can't stop talking about him. You can't ignore that he's there because he's impacting everything. I want Lopetegui to succeed. Unfortunately, the presence of that man in that position, he's preventing us from getting out of fucking defence. And I know the reason that he's probably putting him there is because he's probably thinking, well, he's my goal threat. He's a goal threat if I've got him on the field. Yeah, he's a goal threat from fucking set pieces and stuff like that. But you've got to get up the field. You've got to. I'm not too displeased that he's here. You know, if he's going to be a squad player, I think he could be a really useful squad player. Souček used in the right capacity could be an asset to the squad. He could be. To have him on the bench for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like I've said before, he could be an asset. And that's most of the time when he comes alive anyway. It's at that stage of the game where you're starting to arrow balls into the box or you're defending deep because you're defending a narrow lead. So I think he could be an asset. Still, not in a million years should he be starting. No way. It's going to be too soon for Solero to start, I'm assuming. So, yeah, and I hope that Fulkrug gets a start again. I hope he doesn't get dumped after that performance the other day because, I'm not impressed by him. But we've got to persist. He's all we've got. So you've got to allow him the time to grow into the fucking team, and you've got to give him a platform to succeed. Please, God, put someone creative behind him that can feed him. That's all you got to do. Give him the best platform to succeed, and then we can form a judgment. Then you can form a judgment as well. You can't at the moment, not really. So I'm hoping that today's going to be not soul-destroying because a defeat is expected. But there's ways to lose. There's ways to lose. If we play anything like we have in the first 3 games, and we'll get steamrolled. So he's got to make some changes. He has. Thomas Souček kills us in central midfield. Man City's players will just breeze past him. Most Premier League players will. So, no, look, I'm absolutely gutted about Duran not coming in. I think it does render our window incomplete as good as it's been. We have made improvements to the squad. We've got rid of some deadwood. Not permanently, but we've got rid of some. And yeah, it's been a success when you look at some of the players that were brought in. It's been fantastic, but I just kind of that should have been a priority position. The striker, a dynamic striker, should have been our priority along with the centre back positions. It had to be. So it's not a complete window. It's not a 10 out of 10 window for me. It really isn't. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 at the moment. We spent a lot of money as well. We spent an awful lot of money, don't forget. Now, you can't give Lopetegui and Tim credit for the fact that we spent a lot of money. You give them credit for how they've spent it. And we can only kind of ascertain that, I suppose, after half a season to see how these players bed in. I think you can see already that 55 million has been incredibly well spent. So that's Kilman and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Incredibly well spent. But 28 million on Fulkrug, 30 million on Somerville, 40 million on Todibo. There's a lot of money that's been spent there, and also you've got Soler, who's only a loan. Mind you, he won't be coming in if he's not a success. But Guido Rodriguez was a good free transfer. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? You know. Okay, look, I'm just being summoned to go on a dog walk. So that's enough for me. I'm gonna let you all go. And I will speak to you soon. I hope you enjoy the game later on. I hope I enjoy the game. And yeah, that's it. Come on, you Irons.